What gives me most hope is the idiocy of the other side. I see no hope on our side particularly, but I see the mistakes that the Putins of this world make, the Orbans of this world make, the Trumps of this world make.
What keeps you up at night?
So I actually have immense trouble sleeping. I really haven't been able to sleep the last 4 years in any coherent way. And that is partly, or in large part, because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. So I guess Putin keeps me up at night.
Are you seeing authoritarianism adapt in unexpected ways in recent years?
Authoritarianism is learning how to network very effectively across borders, across ideologies, across financial systems. There's always democracies that were better at this, better at building alliances. At the moment, we're seeing authoritarians do that very, very aggressively, not always effectively, but very aggressively. They think about what's going on in the world as a war, whether a political war or just a full-on war, while we're all wandering around not doing that, and that's where we're losing.
Who profits most from political chaos?
Ooh, great question. There's nothing wrong with chaos, there's nothing wrong with polarization, there's nothing wrong with debate, these are good things. I think what we're talking about is sort of total dysfunction, when the political system can't work in a democratic way, and the people who profit most from that are the people who say that democracy is unworkable and we need an authoritarian system, and those people are many. You find them in business, you find them in technology, you find them in countries like China and Russia, and increasingly we hear voices within democracies say, look, this system is dysfunctional, give me the power and I'll make it effective. And that is a very attractive appeal. People don't call it authoritarianism, they just call it getting shit done. And a lot of people want that right now.
What's changed most about manipulation and persuasion in the past decade?
Well, obviously the technology is what's changing the most, but I think the most important shift really has been the naked embrace of violence, sadism, and humiliation. I think if before there was a little bit of shame around it, now the embrace is open, and the brazenness of indulging in the worst parts of oneself has been really quite stunning.
How do you win an information war?
I think once you've started treating information in a warlike way, then you're always going to lose in a way. It's always, like all wars. Wars always are negative, even for the winners. So the minute you start treating information as an instrument to manipulate, dislocate, demoralize, confuse, which is what information war is, you're always going to lose the potential for democratic debate. So I think we just have to understand that. The tough decision people who like liberal democracy have to make is, are we going to carry on being in denial? The fact that we're in a kind of a season of political warfare and pretend that the old rules of communication apply, where you just speak the truth and the best ideas win, and we live in a marketplace of ideas. We don't, we live in a battlefield. And sadly there is really, certainly in America where I live, no public discourse anymore. So that means all that's left is information war. It's a tragic situation like all wars. It means we'll lose a hell of a lot, but the risks of losing are now so big that there's no choice, sadly.
If you could redirect global attention to one underreported story right now, which one would it be?
Everyone talks about how we need to focus on the children. I think we need to focus on the elderly. Partly because I'll be elderly soon, but partly because there's just so many of them now and they're a political force that's really important. Everyone's like, how do we get the youth back? It's like, yeah, the youth, they get a lot of attention already. I'm really interested in the elderly. I'm really interested in this, like, the grey votes. What's it like getting old but never really quite dying, as we do now? I don't know. I actually wonder whether they're the ones who are going to decide elections. They're the ones who are going to decide the economy. They're the ones who are going to decide so many things. So we need to understand the elderly much more. So forget about the kids. Everyone's obsessing over the kids. Let's talk about the elderly instead.
What gives you hope?
What gives me most hope is the idiocy of the other side. I see no hope on our side particularly, but I see the mistakes that the Putins of this world make, the Orbans of this world make, the Trumps of this world make. They're constantly falling over each other and falling over themselves and their greed and hate. And so at the moment, our best hope is that they keep on doing that in a consistent way.
Talking about authoritarian leaders, would you say that nostalgia is a powerful force for them? And if so, how do they use it?
So there are different types of nostalgia. I mean, nostalgia is a very vague word. We all indulge in nostalgia. I think what we're talking about is a very kind of like toxic form of nostalgia, which insists that there was once a perfect past and that one has to impose that perfect past onto others at great pain. So I think one of the most important things that nostalgia does is turn away from any coherent debate about the future. So you're no longer debating how you're going to reform the economy. You're just saying, bring back my power, which is sort of undermines the very need to have a democratic debate, because you don't really need one when we're dealing with nostalgia. So in that sense, it's a very bad symptom.
So one of the most persuasive communication strategies is populism, right? Like populism as a movement has really the ability to play with people's emotions. Like, how would you counter the ideology of populism?
So ideology isn't a populism, firstly, and it certainly has, any effective communication is about emotion, so I would definitely not cede to them either ideology or emotion. It's a very specific strategy where you, in the chaos of today, where people don't know who you are, you give them an identity by saying, we are together one people, we're superior to others, they're the non-people. That gives you a sense of superiority and sadism over others. So you have to understand that people feel very confused and atomized, and you have to give them an alternative and less toxic form of or the opportunity to form communal identities. Firstly. Secondly, you view it with other feelings of collaboration and empathy, rather than superiority and the desire to humiliate others. And most importantly, I think the sort of populism that you're referring to always sort of raises the idea of a supreme leader who's going to lead the masses, and you have to replace that with a system where people have agency and can decide things through collaborative means. But you have to compete in that space, in the space of emotion, in the space of collective identity, and in the space of feeling efficacy. You have to be working with those elements. So you certainly can't solve it with technocracy.